Chicago, 1969. An Italian restaurant in the River North District, 9 p.m. The kind of establishment with no menu in the window, because those who need to know what is served here already know, and those who do not know are not invited. Snow-white starch tablecloths, candles and bottles covered with layers of wax accumulated over the years, the smell of sauce that has been simmering since morning mixed with the smoke of a Cuban cigar. An atmosphere of money that does not need to announce itself because it has existed long enough to become invisible. 3 tables in the back are occupied by men in dark suits who speak quietly and fall silent when someone passes by. A silence that has weight. Bruce Lee is here because he took the wrong street. He was simply looking for a Chinese restaurant recommended by a friend. The address was written on a napkin that clearly contained the wrong number, and he entered here thinking he had arrived at the right place. He understood the mistake instantly by the smell, by the decor, by the way the maitre d' looked at him with the expression of a man calculating how to get rid of a visitor without creating an unnecessary scene. Bruce was politely apologizing and already turning to leave when it happened. Enzo Cattanio's hand closed on the collar of his jacket and lifted Bruce Lee from the floor, not partially, completely. Bruce's feet lost contact with the Italian marble floor and hung in the air. His entire body was suspended by the force of a single hand, as if 61 kilograms were a weight without consequence, as if an adult man were an object moved when he is in the way. Enzo Cattanio, 44 years old, 1.98 meters, 132 kilograms, not from a gym but from genetics and a life that began in a Neapolitan neighborhood where you either become big or become invisible, and being invisible was dangerous. He arrived in Chicago at 18 with a suitcase and a verbal recommendation to the Marchetti family, and over the next 26 years built a reputation that works in both directions. The right people respect him, the wrong people fear him, and those who enter the wrong restaurant on the wrong night quickly learn which category they belong to. Enzo is what the organization calls a fixer, not a planner, not a strategist, not a negotiator, a man who appears when negotiations are over and only one speech remains. In 26 years, no one Enzo Cattanio decided to lift by the collar remained standing for more than a few seconds before deciding that the floor was a safer place. Around the tables in the back, 7 men from the Marchetti organization watch, each with his own history, each with his own capacity for harm. They watch because Enzo is handling the situation, and when Enzo handles something no one intervenes unless Enzo asks, and Enzo never asks. Bruce hangs in the air, the collar pressing, his feet 15 centimeters above the Italian marble, looking into Enzo Cattanio's face from a distance he did not choose and did not expect. Enzo speaks English with an accent never fully tamed. This restaurant is private. You came to the wrong place. A voice of the type that has ended disputes for decades, deep low without anger, and that is the most frightening thing. Anger is an emotion, coldness is a profession, and profession means nothing here is personal. It means what happens will happen the way rain falls, without particular concern for what is below. Bruce looks at Enzo for a moment, then looks down at his feet in the air and back at Enzo with an expression the 7 men at the tables will later try to describe and fail to find a precise word for. It is not fear, not anger, something strangely like scientific attention, as if an observer records data from an unusual position. He speaks in a calm voice like a man having an ordinary conversation in ordinary conditions. You will want to put me down on the floor. Enzo Cattanio looks at the man he is holding in the air. The phrase did not come with the trembling usual for phrases spoken in such a position, did not come with pleading, did not come with a desperate attempt to find a way out. It came like an observation, like a sincere proposal from a man possessing relevant information about what will happen next. This is new for Enzo. In 26 years no one has said such a thing. He tightens his grip to show he heard and that the answer is no. 6 seconds. First second. Bruce's hands, hanging along his body, rise not to tear Enzo's hand from the collar. That would be force against force, and force against Enzo is an equation with a known result. Bruce's hands go to Enzo's forearm, his fingers finding 2 specific points on the inner side of the arm where the median and ulnar nerves pass close to the surface, protected by muscle but accessible to sufficiently precise pressure. It is not force applied by Bruce's thumbs at these points, it is surgical localization, the difference between hammering at an entire wall and striking exactly the nail. An electric discharge runs through Enzo's arm, involuntary and instantaneous. Second. Enzo's nervous system receives a signal not authorized by Enzo's brain. The fingers holding Bruce in the air receive a contradictory instruction. The brain says hold, the nerves say release, and the nerves have the advantage because they are closer. The grip does not disappear completely but is compromised, and compromise is all Bruce needs. Bruce's feet find the Italian marble floor of the restaurant, and at the moment they find it, his center of gravity is already low, already stable, already positioned for what follows. Enzo feels control slipping but does not yet understand what exactly. Third second, Bruce does not retreat, he enters. A step into Enzo's space, counterintuitive in a way that paralyzes any trained reaction, because anyone released by someone larger retreats, and retreat is what Enzo is prepared to handle. Bruce is now inside the distance, in the space between Enzo's extended arm and Enzo's body, where 132 kilograms have no established direction and no leverage. Bruce's left elbow rises on a short trajectory and meets Enzo's brachial plexus, the nerve node in the shoulder where the arm connects to the torso, the point where sufficient pressure at the correct angle turns a strong arm into one temporarily disconnected from the rest of the system. Enzo's arm lowers not because he wants it to but because the arm has received information that lowering is necessary and urgent. Fourth second, Enzo is fast for his size. 26 years of situations requiring reaction have forged real reflexes. His left hand goes forward, a wide strike with all the weight behind it, the type of blow that ended conversations in Neapolitan bars and Chicago warehouses for decades. Bruce reads the strike before it passes halfway by the rotation of Enzo's shoulder, by the transfer of weight, by the micro-correction of the foot preceding any real attack, shifts his body 15 centimeters to the right, the minimum necessary, and Enzo's fist passes through the air beside Bruce's face with a speed that moves the air. Momentum carries Enzo slightly forward, weight without a target, the center of gravity compromised for a fraction of a second, precisely the fraction Bruce waited for. Bruce's right hand finds Enzo's thigh. Directed pressure, not a push of force but a redirection of physics using already existing momentum and changing its address. At the same time, Bruce's foot hooks behind Enzo's ankle, a low invisible movement appearing in all 6 seconds of all such stories because it always works for one reason. 2 points of support are removed simultaneously from a system that requires 2 points of support to remain vertical. Fifth second, 132 kilograms of Enzo Cattaneo, fixer of the Marchetti family, a man whom for 26 years nothing except a moving car had knocked off his feet, describe an arc in the air of the River North Italian restaurant, too long to seem real and exactly as long as physics determines. The Italian marble floor receives 132 kilograms with a sound that makes the candles on the tables tremble. 6th second, Bruce stands in the space Enzo occupied 30 seconds earlier, breathing even, arms at his sides. His jacket is slightly wrinkled at the collar used as a lifting point, and Bruce straightens it with his right hand in a casual gesture that somehow becomes the most disturbing detail of everything that just happened. He looks at the 7 men at the tables in the back. The 7 men look back. On the floor lies Enzo Cattaneo. On his feet stands a 61-kilogram man who entered here by mistake in search of Chinese food. These two facts together do not fit into any structure of understanding available to the 7 men of the Marchetti organization, who for years built a simple cosmology where Enzo is an irresistible force and everything else objects of lesser resistance. The cosmology was dismantled in 6 seconds. The first to move is the second largest in the group, Pietro, 37 years old, a razor and a history of its use. He rises from his chair, and this is the maximum he manages to do before Bruce's gaze meets Pietro's with a quality of attention that Pietro, with all his history and all his razor, recognizes as the gaze of a man who does not calculate whether he can but only decides whether he wants to. Pietro sits back down. The other 6 see Pietro sit and conduct the same calculation at different speeds, arriving at the same result. One by one, chairs scrape across the marble in a direction opposite the tables. Not flight, none of them admits to himself that he fled, but a decisive movement toward the back exit, the collective instinct of organisms encountering something that is not on the map and for which the map has no category of processing. After 45 seconds, the restaurant is empty except for Enzo on the floor, the maitre d' behind the counter pretending to be part of the wall, and Bruce Lee adjusting the collar of his jacket. Enzo Cattaneo opens his eyes to the stucco ceiling of the restaurant where he has eaten hundreds of meals and never thought to see it from such an angle. He breathes slowly, conducting the inventory of a man who has learned all his life that inventory after a blow is a survival skill. Everything works. The humiliation will take longer to inventory than the body. Bruce squats beside Enzo, not at the angle of a victor over the defeated, but at the angle of one checking whether everything is all right with another person. He says, "The left rib will hurt tomorrow, the right shoulder too. Ice on both in the first 2 hours." Enzo looks at the man crouching beside him and giving medical recommendations after knocking him down in the River North restaurant, while his entire organization exited through the back door. He manages only to say, "Who are you?" Bruce answers, rising, "Someone who came to the wrong place." A pause. Then he goes to the main exit, stops in the doorway, looks back at Enzo still on the floor, and says the last thing that will echo in Enzo Catania for months after that night. "Your size is real, your strength is real, but you spent 26 years in a room where no one taught you what happens when strength meets knowledge. It is not your fault. It is simply what happens when you have never met the proper limit." He leaves. The restaurant remains in silence except for the sauce still simmering in the kitchen, indifferent to everything that happened in the last 6 minutes, doing what it has done since morning without need of spectators. Enzo Catania remains on the floor longer than physics requires. He thinks. For a man who for decades has been the last word in any conversation, thinking after defeat is new, uncomfortable, and necessary territory that he is only beginning to map. He thinks that something exists that he does not know, that the 26 years built on what he knows have a foundation that this night proved smaller than it seemed. He thinks of the words, "When strength meets knowledge." None of the 7 who left through the back door returns that night. Weeks later, in a conversation none of them will form into full words, the event will be called simply the night at the restaurant, without details, without names. A story not told because there is no way to tell it that preserves what must be preserved so that participation in it does not cause pain. But in each of the 7 there is now a question that was not there before. The question is simple and will require time for an answer, or will never receive an answer depending on the person. What exists beyond the strength you have? 6 seconds to ask the question. A lifetime to try to answer.